I find, far from the popular myth that people are not interested in religion. They are desperately interested, and they do want to know. They have perhaps rejected the institution of the church, but they have not rejected religion.
Based on that firm belief, Luton Industrial College stands on the frontiers of faith. The college is not only a training centre, but the headquarters of about 150 full-time and part-time industrial chaplains. Bill Gowland is the principal, and I asked him how working people felt about industrial chaplains.
I think, first of all, they're suspicious. And this comes out when you go to a factory and ask that you might become a chaplain. It isn't as easy as it sounds, by the way. We never go into a factory without the permission of management and shop stewards. I think first they look at us suspiciously, and there are three questions that sums it all up. One, who sent you, mister, the boss of the government? Two, how much you're getting for it? And thirdly, I want the church to answer. It's this: mister, we've been here a long time. Why have you just found us?
As a chaplain, Gordon, what do you actually do when you come to the works like this?
When I come into a factory like this, I visit people where they are at work, whether it's at the office desk or at the rolling mill or wherever they may be in the factory.
Yes, but somebody's working in a very noisy place. How can you possibly talk to them?
Well, obviously one has to shout a great deal, and on occasions it is difficult. But this is the atmosphere they work in, and this is where we must be.
But if you're going just to be there, what's the use of being there, the actual use?
The use is they see that the church is interested in them personally, and the environment in which they spend a great deal of their life.
That just turns you into a do-gooder. You're just interested in passing by. What kind of actual contact do you have with people?
Well, during the conversations I have with them, we cover all sorts of current affairs, social, moral, political issues, industrial situations, as well as personal problems. And they want from me not just another person's point of view, but what the church has to say and what the Christian faith has to say, which is relevant in those particular circumstances.
One of the fairy stories that is being passed on by all sorts of people is that people outside the church are not interested in religion. That isn't our problem. I've never known a time when people are more prepared to listen and argue and discuss. I've never known a time when the human tide of need was so great, and that gives us a way in. But the rub is here. I've never known a time when people feel that the church is so, it's not credible. Now that's our problem.
You're enjoying it?
An increasingly important part of an industrial chaplain's work is with apprentices on the shop floor. Gordon Wilson actually spent 1 day a week for 9 months training in the same way as these apprentices in order to get closer to them.
Just getting the surface right, are you?
The college is more than a headquarters for chaplains. Residential training courses dealing with many aspects of contemporary society make up the yearly program. Students come from all over the world.
The symbol of the whole college you'll find in the window. The bottom part of it is the city skyline. You'll find transport, high-rise flats, commercial interests. On the left-hand side you see the 2 wheels of industry, which of course we seek to serve, the ears of wheat, which is of the rural communities. On the right-hand side, the top priority in the college now, the impact of technology on man and society. At the top of the window represents the pavilion of God and the Holy Spirit, the Creator Spirit, and that's the symbol of the college. It has been right throughout its life. And I think I'd like to give you some guidelines, maybe about what the college is about, what its objectives are.
The idea of the college was conceived in the long-gone commando campaigns soon after World War II, and brought to birth largely through the energy and vision of Bill Gowland under what was then the Home Mission Department of the Methodist Church. It has developed a wide-ranging program of training for industrialists, apprentices, school children, church members. Themes are as varied as the people who come.
and then you get them in the free will offering envelope system, and then you do the worst thing of all. You give them so many jobs inside the church, inside its four walls, that they haven't got time to go to the trade union branch meeting, local councils, parliament. Get involved where it's dirty, dishonest and bloody. And I've always taken the view that church can afford to stay away from where it's clean, nice, soft and comfortable. It dare not stay away where the decisions are hard and the path is very rugged and dirty. After every course, everybody fills up an evaluation sheet, and those are very carefully read and assessed. And I would say that 80% of those sheets talk about how people having seen a new vision, got new hope and a new determination and a new concept of what the college is really about, and that is, how do you translate the Christian faith and practice relevantly in specific situations, whether it's unions, managements, the whole area of daily work. We're really not just interested in industry. We're talking about the Christian faith being practiced and understood in the daily work situation.
Industrial mission is not only concerned with people in factories and offices. Beneath the seemingly peaceful daily routine of the farming community, the same human problems are there to be tackled. Henry Tebbeson, a Methodist layman, puts it in perspective.
The farming industry is really a tremendous industry. In fact, I don't know that many people realize this, but in terms of gross national product, it is by far our largest and most important industry. The value of food produced on British farms is far ahead of the value of cars produced in the car factories of Britain, or steel or coal. It is quite the largest industry in Britain. Going back sort of 25 years or so, most farms had one worker or one farmer for about 25 or 30 acres. And today I think that figure would be somewhere like 1 to 200. But on the other hand, the capital involved is now enormous. Farming's become a very capital-intensive industry, and whereas a farmer could set up farming with about £25 an acre 20 years ago, today he needs probably nearer 200, and that's not allowing for buying the land, which in itself would be worth £1,000 an acre.
But what effect have these changes had on rural communities?
3/4 of the bright youngsters, when they reach 17 or 18, go away for some sort of specialist training, and very few come back. We have a few young people moving in as teachers or working on drainage boards and sugar corporations and chemical factories, but not nearly as many as leave us. We just have to work alongside with this sort of thing, and this really does make it very, very difficult to get much life into the churches.
The whole base of the courses here on the rural communities is a working out the doctrine of creation. And I suppose there's a lot of people who would say that the subjects we have nothing to do with mission. But of course they have, because it has to do with animal husbandry, it has to do with pesticides, the ethics of the use of technology in the soil. We touch a lot of areas in regard to the agricultural industry. But I think there's one thing that I'd like to underline, whether we're dealing with the rural communities or industry or technology. I get a little impatient even with people inside the church who will persistently say, what's that got to do with mission? And my reply is, this is about salvation. Whether we're talking about men and women, or whether we're talking about the universe or this planet, whatever aspect of man and matter, we are committed. That is salvation.
Preparing school leavers for work, or the lack of it, is another part of the college programme. About 1,400 of them come to these sessions each year. Edgar Daniel is responsible for this part of the college programme.
Think about the word pop. Pop music, pop culture, pop art, all the rest of it, it pops. In other words, it's here today, but it's gone tomorrow. You know, it's so rapidly changing. And that's the nature of the world that you and I not only have to live in, but have got to manage.
William? Russell. Thank you.
We are concerned to help prepare young people for a future which is going to become far more complicated and if we're not careful, question the very existence of humanity on this planet. Technology, warfare, various aspects of biological warfare even, are questioning human existence and its very future. Now, if young people are allowed to come into adolescence and young adult stage without even being prepared for these aspects of life, then clearly we're going to have a generation at a loss.
Thank you. Here we are.
Underline this. Anybody who cannot adapt to this rapidly, or in this rapidly changing world, is likely to become a casualty of it. Now, young people are particularly vulnerable to this form of social casualty, but in some areas, amongst certain groups of young people, drugs. And the reason a lot of young people take drugs is, you know, they're saying we can't cope. We can't cope with society, with life.
You spend a lot of time putting the language of technology and industry into plain and simple terms for young people. How do you put the language of religion into equally simple terms?
I think it is possible, it is eminently possible, to give young people a vision of life which they can thrill with. I really believe that's possible. It's not beginning with words like Christianity and the church and religion. It's beginning from where they are. It's beginning with the issues which confront them, which confuse them, which perplex them. It's beginning with those issues, and then giving them, in terms of the kind of future we've just been discussing, you know, the moral and spiritual along with the technological future. In other words, the object is to enable them to grow into a society which is limitless in its possibilities both for human development and for social well-being.
In what sense do you see your work as evangelism?
In the sense of offering to young people a vision of the future, a vision of the quality of life which is possible, in our understanding in terms of Christ. Now, there do come points where young people ask questions about, why are you doing it? What's it all about? Why are you putting in subjects like this? Why do you mention values? And when they ask those questions, then the answer comes clear and loud. And I remember on one occasion a young person asking, towards the end of a course actually, who's God then? And clearly you've got to be very careful, I think, that they don't get the impression you're trying to push a line and therefore draw you. So he said, now, come on, we want to know. We know the pressure from our peers in society, we know the pressure from political groups, we know the pressure from school, we know the pressure from home. Now, we never hear the church speaking about what kind of society is possible. And we were there actually for some time, and the whole group began to be drawn into this discussion as to what life was about, and the question of meaning itself. What is the future? And why am I here anyway? And these are profoundly theological questions, and I think what comes out is that young people are asking loud and clear profoundly theological questions.
Much of the work done here could be done by any industrial college, so upon what specific Christian foundation is it based?
Well, I think I don't often quote the Bible in interviews like this, but I think what we have to say quite plainly is found in Isaiah. You know, when he said that my well-beloved had a vineyard and a fruitful hill, he cast the stones out, he chose the vine, he put a tower in to protect it, and he looked forward to grapes and he got them and they were sour. I do not believe that it is enough to have a good society, a just society. I believe that there is a step further, and that is of total reconciliation. And as far as I can see, that is found only in the person of Christ, and of course in the atonement.